are a disgrace to America.
Thank you.
For being a young black man
Thank
supporting
you.
a racist.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
That is awesome.
All right, what's up, everybody? So today we're going to talk about the liberal plantation. And I figured what better way to talk about the liberal plantation than to talk to somebody who was probably once formerly on this plantation, or at least experienced the wrath of liberals and how they try to control blacks in America like they're little puppies in the palm of their hands that they pet and tell them what to do and what to think. And if you ever disobey what your liberal master tells you to, you will be in big trouble. So we're speaking today with a quote-unquote black man. I mean, he's black, but what the fuck does that term even mean? Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit today. I suppose he's African American, but then again, I don't really even not even sure that's the most accurate term. So, yeah, man, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, what do you identify yourself as? And tell us about, a little bit about your experience with the liberal plantation.
All right. Well, yeah, I do consider myself black, just in general terms, because I go up to somebody, hey, what race are you? And I'll just tell them Haitian, Jamaican. I'm actually there. But yeah, just general conversation, I'm a black guy.
Got it.
Simple as that, just keep it kosher.
Mm-hmm.
But my thing is, all throughout my life, I say ever starting in middle school, I had this realization to say, hey, I can, sort of follow my own path. I don't have to do this in society or do that. So problem with that is people usually go against that because the thing is in another term I hear a lot, a hive mind with the people I talk to, certain ones, and it's true, So with me, it's like, for example, I would think the first thing I had from middle school was when we were doing the Pledge of Allegiance. I said I didn't want to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I have the right to not do it, and honestly, I don't feel like standing up. Honestly, part of it was laziness, but the other part is like, I'm standing up singing to a flag with everybody. I felt weird ever since I started that. And I'm like, I don't want to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I got sent to the principal's office like 4 times in 2 weeks and got sent home to my mother. Honestly, my mama was even on board with me. She said, do what you like. I'm not going to tell them otherwise. They can't make you do what you don't want to, especially if it's not hurting them. So during Pledge of Allegiance, I don't have to stand up. But then, of course, teachers all of a sudden start randomly giving me bad grades for whatever reason, and I'm doing all my work. And then I noticed certain kids during lunchtime and stuff like that, like when I'm hanging with my friends at lunchtime, I noticed certain people be throwing me looks, and that's just how it all started. I felt like, wow, they treat me like I'm some sort of, like I just don't belong, like I'm a black sheep.
So that's extremely ironic that you use that term, black sheep. So you're saying that from a very early age, you were sort of the dude who stood out, who kind of went against the grain, who didn't go along to get along with what everybody else was doing.
Exactly.
And essentially what you're saying is that you're a more independent, individualist type of person, and that's the exact opposite of the kind of tribalistic collectivism that defines this liberal plantation collectivistic mentality where everyone has to have the same viewpoint. And even if you're talking about like racism in general, whether it's white people being racist or black people being racist, and you goddamn right, black people being racist does fucking exist. It's a form of tribalistic collectivism. And if you ever diverge from these groups and these group thinks and these group mentalities, the immediate label that you're given is like a sellout. And of course, in the black community, it manifests as the term Uncle Tom or Oreo and all these sellout type terms.
Mm-hmm. I got Oreo growing up too.
Oh, you got called an Oreo, dude?
So yeah.
Let me ask you something, because that.
Yes, a few times.
Yeah, let me ask you, because that seems like that's got to be an incredibly frustrating thing to be called. I mean, I've been called a self-hater by Hispanics on Twitter. Certain Hispanic individuals, because I'm Cuban, they say that because I'm pro-Trump and I'm pro-USA, that means that I'm a self-hater, that I'm somehow betraying Cuba or something, which is hilarious. And it's frustrating because implicit in that is this idea that you're some kind of a sellout, that you've betrayed people. Did you ever get that feeling when you were called Oreo?
No, I just did get the feeling that I'm like, what the heck is an Oreo? And when I found out, I'm like, what does that mean? I'm white on the inside. You know, what defines white? I know this white guy who acts like a freaking gangster,
Yeah.
but then when he's with his family, like his wife and kid, he's like a total chill, relaxed, honestly, sort of a softie. It's like, what do you define as a white guy?
Exactly.
What do you define as a black guy?
Isn't it inherently racist to suggest that you're an Oreo for, whatever, behaving quote unquote white or acting white? Because to say that there's such a thing as acting white sort of implies that there's such a thing as acting black. And that's what I've found with a lot of like these pro-black groups who are some of the first people to call blacks coons or Uncle Toms or Oreos, is that they do believe that there is something unique to them as black people. Now, I'm not going to sit here and deny that there aren't differences between the races. I mean, that should be obvious. If you're just going to talk about skin color, there's a difference between the race. But I think more importantly, what we're talking about here is we're talking about behavior. We're talking about interests. We're talking about aspirations, things that individuals choose to do with their time and their talents. And it's sort. I won't even call it reverse racism, because I don't buy that reverse racism. It ain't reverse racism. It's just racist. It's a racist, tribalistic mentality that basically says black people are a certain way and white people are a certain way. I want to jump in real quick, guys, and just read you a little quote from the book Please Stop Helping Us: How Liberals Make It Harder for Blacks to Succeed. The author writes, quote, "Race consciousness helps cohere the political left, and black liberalism's main agenda is keeping race front and center in our national conversations. That's why, for example, much more common black-on-black crimes take a back seat to much less common white-on-black crimes." That is how the liberal plantation works. So yeah, the book Please Stop Helping Us by Jason L. Riley, a black author, by the way. I read it a couple years ago. It's definitely a must-read. I put the link to it below, and you can actually get the book for free in audiobook format. The audiobook company Audible, they give you one free audiobook when you sign up, so you can get this book for free. Again, I'll put the link to this book in the description below.
Let me tell you real quick, the funny thing is, all this time, people in their hearts, they actually know they're being racist. But what they chalk it up to is jokes, or, oh, it's not that racist because it's light and people could care less, so it's not that important. Like, they chalk it up to, like, in the law's eyes, jaywalking. Nobody gets busted for jaywalking, but it's illegal. I guess that's how they make it feel. But, truthfully, it's like, for them, once again, it doesn't depend on the situation. It depends on the person, because, like, we all know. Apparently, and I hear this all the time, I even seen it. Black people can make fun of white people, or Spanish people can make fun of black people, or Asian can make fun of Spanish people. It's a cycle, but then it's like going back the other way. Oh, if a white person, because apparently every white person has privilege. I don't know where that came from. Apparently every white person with privilege, I'll say it in that sense, not just every white person with privilege, but every white person that supposedly has privilege isn't supposed to make fun of other races or joke even like that, even though we do it, because it's offensive, because they have rights we don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And even in that respect, one thing I also know these days, and way in the past too, before any crazy stuff started happening with race, it was all about class, to where if you're rich or poor, it doesn't matter your skin color, where you came from, if you're rich or if you're poor, that's how it goes. But people want to make it about race, skin color, and all that, because to them, they want that to matter. They want it to be that if you're a certain skin color, you could get away with things.
You're absolutely
when you
right.
have money or don't, Yeah,
You're absolutely right.
because it's like, thank you. Yeah.
Yes, you're definitely absolutely right. And if you listen to some online personalities, they'll say that the real distinction isn't even black versus white, races versus other races. It's really those with the power and those who don't. And you've got people like George Soros, for example, who I've heard, I don't know if it's true, but I've heard he funds a lot of groups associated with the Black Lives Matter movement. And when you look at it that way, Black Lives Matter, which to me is one of the most racially charged groups in the world today, and basically one of the most racist groups in the world today. In fact, Black Lives Matter is a big part of the reason I do so many videos about race. Because Black Lives Matter has injected race into the political discussion.
Mm-hmm.
And, about 2 years ago, there was this fast food protest thing. People were demanding $15 an hour minimum wage. And I went to go cover it. And it was a big protest, people demanding $15 an hour for working at McDonald's and Burger King. And some of the people there were part of Black Lives Matter. And that was a really interesting experience because, in fact, I'll put the link to that video in the description below so you guys can see the confrontation. But there were a couple members of the Black Lives Matter movement there. And we got into a little interaction. The guy, he saw me recording what they were doing and providing my commentary on how delusional it is to call for $15 an hour minimum wage and how it doesn't really solve anything economically or financially. And one of the guys confronted me. I mean, we're talking about race here, so I guess I might as well mention that he was a black guy. And, he confronted me. He's like, if you don't have anything nice to say, get out of here. And I'm like, well, look, I'm here on a public place on a sidewalk. You guys are out here screaming, shouting, protesting, shutting down highways and shit. I can be out here too, right next to you guys, giving my commentary on your idiocy. Like, it's almost like you didn't even know what the fuck free speech was, because that's what you're exercising, and that's what I'm. So you don't have to threaten me and say I have to get out of here. But the point is that I got a really interesting insight. I felt a lot of hatred coming out that guy. He even told me I had white privilege, which was interesting because then I said, well, dude, I'm from Cuba. Like, I'm a second generation Cuban immigrant. Like, my grandmother lived on a fucking farm, killing chickens with a fucking axe. Like, dude, you don't know where I came from. But here you are assuming that because I have reasonably light skin, I must be a privileged person. It wasn't just what he said, it was how he said it. And I got an insight into some aspects of the Black Lives Matter movement. And they are just hateful, vile people. And I sensed the hatred. He hated my guts. And that's really why I began to do so many videos about race in regards to this whole Black Lives Matter, the pro-black movement, all this shit. And I sort of forgot what the fuck my point was. But, yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I hear you, and I tell you, that's a crazy story because it's so true. Honestly, once again, you look at somebody's skin color. So you just talk about, you can't just assume. Like, for example, this is a great example. My cousin, she's black, but she's light skinned. She looks completely white. And all throughout school, she was bullied for that because people kept making fun of her. And I'm so proud of her that throughout all that, she stuck it out because it's tough,
Who was she bullied by? Other black students?
Well, she just told me many people in her school, so I'm guessing anybody who was there,
Okay. So she's light skinned. She's she has certain other. Does she have nappy hair type? Was that what you mean? But she still has light skin.
No, she didn't even have nappy hair. She was it was funny because my uncle even said that he wanted a DNA test, and they told me the story. They're like, "Is that his?" And it was. She just somehow turned out that way, that she turned out to look a different type of traits than what they thought she would turn out.
So what was she bullied for?
That's the thing. She was bullied for just being different than what she was supposed to be. She would tell kids, I'm African American, and they're saying, no, you're not.
Oh.
And the whole point of that, and it was white, black, Spanish, all types of kids.
So they probably thought that she was bullshitting and trying to be something she wasn't.
Well, yeah, that could have been it too. My thing is they just had somebody that was, once again, different in respects to race, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's the interesting thing. And I don't want to go down this path too long because I'm not even sure if it's relevant. But I have heard that there are albino blacks. There are black people who are born albino, so they'll have a lot of the stereotypically black features like nappy hair, but they have white skin. They're basically black albinos in a sense. And I heard that there was a lot of persecution in some parts of Africa of albinos that's been happening for like, I don't know, probably hundreds of years, hunting them down, attacking them. And I kind of always thought that was interesting because it made me wonder, like, I mean, you want to talk about discriminating based on skin color. I mean, that sounds like a form of discrimination and racism, basically. I mean, it's a form of prejudice based on skin color, attacking albinos because of their skin color, because they look different. Which to me goes in the face of this concept that black people can't be racist. Because I would argue that's sort of a form of racism. It's a form of prejudice, hatred of a person based on genetic qualities. But let's talk a little bit about white liberals, because they are the slave masters on the liberal plantation.
Yeah.
Have you ever had any experiences with a white liberal basically, I don't know, trying to control you and tell you what you can and cannot think or believe?
Yes, a lot online, more in person, because let's remember, I live in New York City, by the way, which is freaking one of the cities that say, hey, let's protest about something. Whales, chickens, people don't get enough of the nutrition they need. I don't know. They protest about everything here, and people stand up for what they believe in. So, yeah, I've had a lot of that. I'm trying to think. There was a situation like 2 years ago, and me and my friend were getting on the train, and there was this woman that she was talking with a friend, and then they came over to us. They say, "Oh, I'm sort of surprised," and this. By the way, this whole thing sort of rocked my nerves. And my friend is Spanish with red hair. They're like, "Oh, are you two dating?" And I'm like, "No, we're just friends." Like, "Oh, I thought you two were dating." She's like, "I thought that would have been so nice." I'm like, "What's nice about it?" That you're beating stereotypes, that you're being with a Spanish woman, because we know that, she was saying just pretty much along the lines that I was supposed to be dating a black woman, but I'm dating a Spanish woman instead, and it's apart from my race. And I'm like, I didn't know that I'm supposed to be dating a black woman, or that I'm supposed to be beating stereotypes. And I told them, even if I was dating her, it was because I like her for her. I could care less what race somebody is. I like them for them. And I told her right there that she's like, well, I'm sorry. I didn't know you felt that way. She's like, but I believe that you're supposed. And she was saying it like this, trying to pretend to be all sensitive and caring, but it came out as completely rude. She's like, you're supposed to usually be with your race so it doesn't cause any trouble with anybody else. I'm like, if they want trouble, let them have trouble. But you see what I mean? It's like, what are people thinking these days?
Well, that's sort of the inherent condescension of some white liberals. It's sort of like they just think that black people are like little puppies, and they're almost like these watch guards for black people. And who knows, maybe 40, maybe 100 years ago, when slavery was only recently ended in the United States, maybe there was a good purpose to have, a few wealthy, well-established white people looking after black people to make sure that fucking slavery didn't get reenacted or something. But it's been so many decades since then that I think there's a lot, or at least there's a growing number of blacks in America who just feel like they're being treated like pathetic, weak children by these white liberals. I mean, the prime example would be just the other day. There was this 16-year-old black kid who supports Donald Trump. Anybody who's watching now probably saw the clip, and a member of the Black Lives Matter movement started calling the kid racist. And then a white liberal came out of nowhere from the fucking gutter somewhere, spawned out from the fucking sewers, and she came in with her fucking poisonous wrath And she basically started telling the kid, you know, you should go get educated. You're brainwashed. And the thing is that, fine if the black kid was genuinely brainwashed or genuinely ignorant. Like maybe he was got converted into the Jim Jones cult or something, and he was genuinely. But that's the thing. White liberals, any black person who disagrees with their politics, even if that black person has legitimate, rational reasons to disagree, the white liberal will call them Oreos. They will call them brainwashed. They will call them uneducated. Not because the black dude is in fact uneducated or brainwashed, but just because it's an easy way to attack and belittle your ideological opponents. So it's just disgusting, and it's gotten to a point where not only are white liberals not helping black people, but I think it's gotten to the point where they're actually harming black people, where they desperately try to instill a victim complex into black people, where they want black people to think that they're victims of something because it justifies the whole fucking narrative of the left.
Right. Yeah, you're totally right. I mean, the thing is, and I thought about this for years. I even used to do debates. This is why one of those groups you talked about, I'm not going to say the name of them, but I actually had found them on Craigslist. Wonder what they're about, but just in truth, they said they wanted me, and I said, forget it, because I found out what they were. My thing is, usually when liberals do that, and once again, white liberals, black liberals, just people who want to pretty much say, let's do this because we think it's right. Problem is, they do it not because it's right for certain people, because to them, they feel like they're fulfilling a purpose. And that is so much the truth with them, but people don't want to say that. That's just it. At the end of the day, people want to feel good about themselves. You got these people with a lot of money. You got these people who got a lot of time on their hands, but they're really good people. You know, but then they take it and twist it and say, I want to do something good. But then throughout the years, some of them become like this, where they feel that I'm helping someone, they should take the help because I know how they act. You know, they treat you, as you said, like a puppy.
Mm-hmm.
There are people that actually truly want a puppy for their household, you know? And other people, they just adopt a puppy. And I found something that's so sad how many do this. People just adopt animals just, you know, to keep them from the shelters and stuff. And that's nice and all. But it's like, what is your agenda behind it? And with these people, they think they're doing the right thing. But even people in my area, and thankfully my face is blurred out of this or not in it, pretty much even people in my area, they would rather stay on these welfare checks, government checks, all these checks that people like liberals are helping them maintain. Instead of the government saying, work for this, they're staying here sitting on their butts doing nothing, and they're getting all this. That's why they're so happy too. So that's on the other side of it. Aside from the liberals who want to help and feel, my bad about that. Aside from the liberals who want to feel good about themselves, now you got the people there saying they're helping out. These people are lazy. What they want is they don't want change. They don't want to work hard, or they don't want something that they feel they don't like. Like, no offense to my grandmother, but I even had to tell her, Trump is not a bad guy. Yeah, he says stuff out of the mouth. A lot of presidents have said stuff out the mouth. But you know what? Did anybody get deported like crazy? And I even told her, you know, what he's saying about deporting certain people, he's not saying I'm going to deport every race I don't like, or I'm just going to deport Muslims. Thing is, he's saying putting a stop on a certain race, not permanently, like putting a stop on a certain, I'll say religious group, my bad, Muslim. Yep. Religious group. And the thing is, yes, other people have complained, oh, there's other religious groups coming to America. Problem is, what do we have the high level priority for? It's like, for example, if you're going to a school and you're having a huge problem with kids that come late to school, you're going to do something about the kids that come late. You're going to make them stop at some sort of door, wait a few hours, well, not a few hours, but wait a while before they have to come into school instead of disrupting class, you know, make them go in between periods. He's just trying to make a control of it. He's not saying he's going to take all these Muslims he finds here in America, a bunch of them, and put them back on a boat. He didn't say anything about doing that to Africans. He didn't
Yep.
say doing that to Mexicans, and I don't know. People said he did. Even if he did, he can't do that. He does not have the power to just say, I'm going to deport every Mexican I can find and just deport. No, he does not. So if people want to get mad because he's saying things out the mouth, that's fine. But don't go into a fit of rage because you feel it's going to happen. These people need to actually be educated instead, just at the end of the day, taking somebody else's word for it, you know?
Exactly. And what greater sign of the liberal plantation than, I mean, just from that video of the young 16-year-old Trump supporter, black Trump supporter, the guy who was, the Black Lives Matter guy who was attacking him, I mean, he said Donald Trump wants to deport Africans. Like, not even the media, which has lied 24/7 about what Donald Trump says, not even the media ever claims Trump said that. So I don't even know where he got that from. That's probably some paranoid underground, local group he's part of that literally thinks Donald Trump is a face of white supremacy, and once he gets in office, he's gonna fucking deport any dark-skinned person. But it's interesting because about a month or two ago, I debated one of these black supremacist maniacs. And somewhere around the last quarter of the debate, I asked him a question. So I go, okay, so you say black people can't be racist, right? He's like, yep, black people can't be racist. And I go, okay. And that's because you say black people don't have privilege and power, right? He's like, yep, that's why. And I go, okay, well, how about this? Let's say I'm walking down the street one day, and there's a black guy. And he has more privilege and power than I do. There's plenty of black people in the world who have more privilege and power than little old me. They're out there. So what happens if this black person doesn't like me? Now, some people say that I'm genetically white. I always identified as Cuban, Hispanic, Latino, but whatever. I don't know. Let's just assume I'm a white guy. And I'm walking down the street, and this black guy with more privilege and power than me comes up to me, and let's say he initiates a hate crime, punches me in the face because he hates he hates white people. So I asked the guy that I was debating, is that guy being racist in that situation, given that he has more privilege and power than the white guy he just punched in the face because he's white? And the guy I was debating, he went quiet for like 4 seconds. He's like, no, he still can't be racist. The black guy still can't be racist. So it's like I just used your standard, and your standard for determining whether or not a person can be racist is whether or not they have privilege and power. This black guy has more privilege and power than the fucking poor redneck white guy. But the black guy still can't be racist according to this dude. And one of the things that's most disturbing and destructive to black people, in my opinion, about this concept that black people can't be racist is that it holds black people to a lower standard of conduct and personal responsibility. I mean, if you walk through life thinking, I can't be racist, that's basically giving you the freedom to do all types of crazy shit. You can go attack white people, racially motivated. You can make fun of white people or any other racial group for racial reasons. And there will be no consequences to your actions. And that to me is one of the key parts, the key themes of the liberal plantation, is absolving black people of personal responsibility by saying, oh, you're a victim. It's the white man's fault. It's America's fault. It's whatever's fault. And when you rob people of personal responsibility, when you rob people of a sense of responsibility over their actions, you literally turn them into children. You're holding them to a lower standard of personal responsibility and conduct. So to me, this idea that black people can't be racist, which is desperately clung to by Black Lives Matter movement, by so-called pro-blacks who claim they want to be empowered and oftentimes claim that they're the superior race. But as long as you think that you need to be held to a lower standard of personal responsibility and conduct than white people, how could you ever be better than them? And that's what I mean by the infantilization effects of this liberal freaking plantation. Any thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, everything you said definitely true. But one thing I will have to correct on, and it's all right because it happens. Instead of just having the idea about something, because a lot of people think messed up stuff, but they don't act on it. But just like what happened in Orlando, that was acted upon by some guy who had the thoughts to do it. I'm pretty sure other people have the same thoughts, but they don't do it. Thing is, while having the idea that, yeah, that somebody can't be racist, if they don't act upon it in word or physical ability, thankfully nothing acts. But the problem is, as you said, they do. Just real quick saying that. But
Yeah, I mean, like in the hypothetical situation I mentioned, imagine the dude just punching him in the face. Like that's obviously, an actual solid act.
yeah, and that's when I told you, like I told you earlier, these days it's not about the situation, it's about the person. Apparently learned whatever he learned growing up, apparently, as you said, because he has no feeling that he's responsible for certain things he does, so he gets to act how he wants, and in a sense the child does what they want if they don't have any kind of punishment towards them and they grow up like that.
Yep.
You can't just do that. You can't just go up and feel you can do what you want because of your race. I mean, yeah, you shouldn't do it because you shouldn't do it, but people feel, as you said, like a black guy feels they can go up and insult a white guy, call him a cracker. As I said, I've seen that many times. But never, ever in my life have I ever seen a white guy come up to a black guy and call him the N-word. Of course, I can't say it here because freaking YouTube.
Well, you could. I don't think. I mean, if they censor this video, I'll just call YouTube racist for censoring a black man.
No, it's all right. The hype is honestly not worth it, but you know what I mean. Obviously.
I know what you mean. Yeah. Okay, man. Well, yeah, I have to shoot off to the grocery store before it closes because I have nothing to eat in my house and I'm fucking starving and I just finished a workout. So I think we got a lot of good stuff in. We've been going for about 30 minutes. So yeah, man, I don't know if there's maybe you have a website or a social media you want to plug, or maybe you'd rather remain anonymous. But if you have any final thoughts or last words, go ahead and say it now.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm gonna say, like, if people do want to talk to me, I do have a Twitter. I guess you could put that in the description if they would like to chat, because I don't have that link to anything else. Silver Stream MLP. You already have my account, so you know.
Yeah, I got your account. I'll put the link to this dude's Twitter, guys. I'll put his link to his Twitter below. You guys can check him out. And again, guys, thank you guys for watching. Leave your comments.
Well, actually, if you don't mind,
yeah.
Real quick, sorry, one last thing real quick. Just remember, guys, when they say be yourself these days, actually take that to heart. You be yourself and you'll actually see things clearer than most people will, and you'll find out why it is better to be yourself.
Wonderful. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you all for watching.
They lied.
Okay.
They said there were weapons of mass destruction. They knew there were none.
My mom is the strongest woman I know.
She should
This
be
is
running.
not about my family or his family.
Okay.
This is about the South Carolina family.